Hello and welcome back to another video. Welcome back to the YouTube channel. And yeah, today is international break. It's the start of international break. So we're just going to be doing a few uploads this week. We'll see how many videos we can stomp out in the next 2 weeks and what we can do and stuff. The streaming it's going to be a bit of a struggle to maybe, do some streams within this period of time, as there's nothing really to talk about when it comes to news. Obviously, there are a couple things, but we'll get into that probably in this video. But listen, make sure to like the video and make sure to subscribe if you are new. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers, and thank you for the support as of recently. Um, yeah, this question is: did West Ham win the transfer window? We're just going to take a look at how West Ham's transfer window ended up, uh, becoming in the end. Obviously, people started to realize that we were very active in the window and started giving us credit for what we were doing, etc., addressing most of the positions that we needed to address. Obviously, being quite active throughout the window. Only time when we weren't active was that period of time when we signed Somerville, in between the time when we signed Max Kilman. That was a few weeks in between. Other than that, it seemed very active. Obviously, they were still looking for people to sign in the positions, but we did get there eventually. I would have liked, the Wan-Bissaka deal to get done earlier. It's good that we got the Guido Rodriguez deal done. That's almost like a bonus. We got a striker over the line eventually, obviously, because the whole Duran saga delayed the whole thing. And we're going to get into everything as soon as it happened. Obviously, we started off with Luis Guilherme, signing Luis Guilherme, and I thought he was going to be originally the winger that was going to come in and compete. He's pretty much fourth choice winger at this point. We'll see if he gets any game time, because the guy hasn't had 1 minute of game time since the season started, not even in the cup, which is kind of disappointing. But I get he's young, and they've probably set up the project for him to become more of a player to step up when Mohamed Kudus and Lucas Paquetá eventually leave. Because we don't know if put it this way, if Lucas Paquetá isn't banned and he continues to impress, obviously he has to play better than he did against City, then he will leave anyway. And maybe Man City will come back in for him. Maybe they don't want him anymore just because they've got Gundogan back, they've got Kovacic, Bernardo Silva, De Bruyne. They probably think they don't need another midfielder. Mohamed Kudus has the same release clause as well. So I think clubs will come in for him next year. And I think if he keeps playing on the left wing, he's going to become even more frustrated, especially if I don't think Liverpool will come in. I have a bad feeling that it's going to be Chelsea that come in and trigger the 85 million release clause, because they just move mad with transfers. They don't really give a fuck. And even though they've got so many attackers already, that hasn't stopped them in the past. I don't know why that's going to stop them in the future. I have a feeling they're going to sell someone like a Mudryk and get Mohamed Kudus in, unfortunately. I hope that doesn't happen. I really hope that doesn't happen. That would fucking disgust me. But at the same time, we'd be getting 85 million in for him. So it is what it is. But I think Luis Guilherme is going to be the guy who steps up. And I said this, to be fair, I actually said this when we first signed him on people's streams and stuff, where as much as I thought he was going to become more of I thought he was going to, be more in the first team. I knew that he was going to come in and play more games when Paquetá and Kudus weren't there, because this guy can play the 10 and both wings as well. So we're going to see how he develops in the future. But it's still someone that we needed in the wing. We did need two wingers, because obviously we saw that Maxwell Cornet wasn't up to the standard and up to the sharpness and didn't have the pace that he would previously have when we originally signed him. I wouldn't call him a bum of a player, because technically he's still a good player, but he lost his pace, and a lack of game time and that big injury did not help him. So with context, it makes sense. It makes sense to sign someone like a Luis Guilherme. But let's bring up the whole squad. Actually, I'm going to risk sharing the club website to give you guys the whole squad. Obviously, if we're talking about the goalkeeping aspect, then Fabianski, Foderingham, and Areola, those are a good set of keepers. Obviously, Areola being the first choice, he has to be the first choice. I know there's, for some reason, there's quite a bit of criticism of Alphonse Areola as of recently, but for me, this guy is way more suited than Fabianski is, like distribution wise, and not even just like the ability of the distribution. But I've said this from years ago, that Fabianski takes too long to distribute the ball, to throw the ball or kick the ball. It takes too long to make the decision, which fucks up the whole transition, like trying to play on transition. And it didn't help, as we were mainly a counter-attacking team before Lopetegui anyway, and we still like to counter, which is good as well. That's always good. We're just exposed to space that's in behind in most teams, but We just need to finish our chances. We haven't exactly got the most clinical players apart from Bowen, but it is what it is. But yeah, I think Ariana's been fine, especially if he was playing with a back injury and he made that save from Kevin De Bruyne, where Kevin De Bruyne catches him out and he actually makes a really good save. So he'll be playing. He won't be playing an international break, so he's pretty much getting a rest. He's pretty much just traveling with France. He's just there, so he'll be fine. I think he'll be fine for Fulham. And if not, we've got Fabianski to come in. It's not the worst uh, keeper to come in, especially with the experience that he's had. He's been very good over the years, Fabianski as well. And Fotheringham, he's not going to play. He's just a third choice guy. So he's just there for the background, which is fine. If we were signing him for second choice or first choice, I'd have a problem with it, but we're not. But let's go on to the defenders. Obviously, Kurt Zuma's out on loan. If again is out on loan, people are going to be like, "Oh, but why did we get any money for them?" Well, we had to get again out on deadline day for wages, and he wanted to leave, and we left it too late. So that's something that we got to deal with. I don't know why the manager preferred again over Mavropanos, but he's again's not good enough, and I'm glad he's left. I don't want him anywhere near this club. And the way he put his goodbye message out, he thinks he's getting a permanent move soon. So I don't know whether Sociedad plan to buy him. We'll see. I actually hope he does well there, just because we can make money off it, not because I want him to do well. It's mainly from a selfish point of view. I don't give a fuck about Nefer in general. Kurt Zuma went on loan to Saudi. Obviously, Kurt Zuma needed to go. Obviously, I think they've got some cheap buy option or maybe a free option of getting him. Anyway, his contract runs out next year. So we're not going to make money off him anyway, and it was quite impossible to make money off someone like a Kurt Zuma just because of the amount of injuries he's had and the way his knees are. Like the club apparently made the decision to sell him after the fact that he could only do 45 minutes against Dagenham and Redbridge. So there you go. So that's fine. And then obviously let's look at the incomings. Like we made 3 defensive signings: Kilman, Tadibo, and Aaron Wan-Bissaka. We've seen Kilman and Wan-Bissaka play more. We've only seen Tadibo play 45 minutes and the cameo against Aston Villa and him to come on to see out the game against Crystal Palace. Tadibo, not really much to say. He just needs to settle in. He needs to start as well against Fulham for me. I don't really want Mavropanos starting for the foreseeable future. With Max Kilman and Aaron Wan-Bissaka, they've been our best players so far. For me, by far, like Kilman's been very consistent. The last 3 games that Wan-Bissaka has participated in, which is the only games he's participated in, he's been brilliant. He came on against Crystal Palace and made a big difference. He pretty much, as I said, he made that first goal. It was the first goal. Yeah, he made the first goal. Kilman made the second goal as well. Obviously, I know Bowen and Souček had to finish their chances, but they made those chances. Also, against Bournemouth, he was cooking at left back, doing really well. And against Man City, he was really good in possession against at both sides of fullback, right back and left back. So very impressed with Wan-Bissaka in that aspect. Just in terms of being good in possession. Obviously, his crossing is still not great, but we knew that about him. And don't give me that 2019, 2020, 21 comp of him crossing the ball because that was 3 or 4 years ago, which is what people seem to put out there. And listen, I've said before, I said it on a previous stream, I was wrong about Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Listen, I didn't want him as all of you know, I didn't want him. I wanted Kyle Walker-Peters because of the attacking aspect. We're meant to be, playing attacking fullbacks, etc. But Walker-Peters is at Southampton and he's still there. I don't know how no one went in for him. I still maintain that he's a good right back, and hopefully we could get him on a free next season if the contract situation is the way it is. Because he wanted to come to West Ham, and Vladimir Coufal could go on a free next year. That would be ideal. If we could have, by the way, if we sign Walker-Peters next year, like on a free, and he doesn't sign a new contract at Southampton, or another club doesn't get him as well, and then we have Wan-Bissaka and Walker-Peters as the right back options, we are living the dream. That would be class. And we've got 2 homegrown options there, 2 right backs that can, pass the ball to their teammate from 5 yards, which is what Vladimir Coufal cannot do. I said this on Lewis's channel yesterday, which I didn't really mention on stream, is that I think Aaron Wan-Bissaka has improved Bowen on the right. And as much as we couldn't get Bowen into the game against Man City, but that was mainly because the City defending is the people around him, let's say like when it was with Rodriguez, Alvarez, and Bowen around him playing in possession, the distances and the ability to combine with players made us so much more comfortable in possession and let us take a few more risks, which is what we need. Which is what you need to do if you're playing in possession as well. And when Vladimir Sufal plays with Jared Bowen wants the ball in behind a lot because Vladimir Sufal is known for just putting the ball in behind all the time. It's not always accurate. I don't know why Bowen keeps doing it, but that's the pain of having them two together is that we don't really take care of possession. It's always pass the ball down the channel and then just whip it and then it goes out of play. Or, yeah, the ball either goes out for a throw or out for the goal kick for the other team, which is annoying. And it's just pure carelessness in possession. It doesn't work all the time. In fact, it barely works. It barely works. But with Aaron Wan-Bissaka, Bowen is allowed to come short. And without 28 there as well next to him, you've got like a Rodriguez and Alvarez coming in to receive the ball and combine with them as well. Like Lucas Paquetá roaming around to combine with him, Kudus roaming around to combine with him as well. Like, you've got players that were all comfortable in possession, apart from, Mavropanos is somewhat comfortable in possession, but you know what I mean? Like, we had pretty much all ball players on the pitch apart from Antonio. Like, we was able to combine very well, and it helps. Like, I've always complained about the distances between the right back and the wingers, or just in general with the fullbacks and the wingers, like Emerson and Kudus. You can see, despite Kudus not being that comfortable on the left all the time, like Kudus will come short and then choose other times to run it behind. Like, you get the variation of the two. And even then, Emerson doesn't really pass the ball in behind, which is, for me, a better thing. He passed the ball to Paquetá. He should have made a better pass to Paquetá, don't get me wrong. But looking at these additions, like Wan-Bissaka heavily improves us. I think I said he heavily improved us anyway. It just wasn't the right back that I wanted. Because also the bar was on the floor. The bar was Vladimir Sufal and Ben Johnson. And people, as I said yesterday, Ben Johnson was on the bench for Ipswich, and Aaron Wan-Bissaka's doing what he's doing now. Like, people were complaining about Ben Johnson leaving. I couldn't believe my ears and my eyes. But yeah, I guess the bar was on the floor. And with all due respect to Vladimir Sufal, I don't care about you getting a pay rise. I don't like. This is not about sentiment. This is about who's good enough for the football club. And Vladimir Sufal ain't it. Just my opinion. Just my opinion. But looking at the centre back options as well, obviously we've got Max Kilman. Max Kilman has been class. Obviously, a lot of scrutiny over the 40 million price tag, including myself, who wanted Max Kilman but had reservations and didn't think he would provide enough for the 40 million price tag. And so far, so good. It's very early on into the season. So far, Wan-Bissaka's proven me wrong. And so far, Max Kilman is living up to his price tag. But this is also a few games in. And this is also Premier League proven players, which we can expect instant results of these kind of players as they've played in the Premier League before at their respective clubs at Wolverhampton Wanderers and Manchester United. With Max Kilman as well. Just overall, just great defending, great ball playing ability, comfortable in possession, really helping us break through the lines and making risky passes and he hasn't really misplaced a pass that much. He's very comfortable with the ball, very easy for him to get out of the penalty box with the ball as well. Offering a bit of leadership that we were missing in the centre back roles as well. Let down by Mavropanos last game. Played really well against Crystal Palace and a masterclass against Crystal Palace and really good against Bournemouth and really good against Aston Villa. None of the goals were really his fault, in my opinion, that we've conceded so far. But overall, very happy with it. Obviously, Wolves now are scrambling to not even just replace him, but they wanted to go 4 at the back. They got battered by Chelsea, and then now they're changing back to a 3 at the back, and they clearly miss him. Obviously, Gary O'Neill, I don't even think he was particularly happy with selling him. But listen, they're suffering. They were laughing about 40 million. They haven't reinvested properly, so the joke's on them. At the end of the day, they were like, "Oh, we scammed West Ham, But look what happened. And West Ham fans still fall for the whole, "Oh, but they are happy to sell him and all that." Yeah, so there's always copium in every fan base, guys. There's always copium where once a fan base sells a player, you see the online fan base slightly change their opinion of a player very sneakily, talking about, "Oh, it's all right. We could do this and we could have the money and then we could reinvest." And he wasn't even that good anyway. It's like when you get rejected by a girl and it's just like, "Oh, you're ugly anyway. Like, you're clapped." But you weren't saying that when you were approaching her. That is the same with this. So overall, the centre back issues. Obviously, let's talk about the Joel Matip situation as well. Obviously, Joel Matip is on the list as we talked about the GVO show yesterday. Make sure to go check out that stream with Alfie. Pretty much, we're looking for a fourth choice centre back, and we're considering every option possible, like Joel Matip, John Egan, maybe keeping Kalen Casey as they're confident that he could be a fourth choice centre back as well. I think what people need to understand as well, if we was to sign like a John Egan, he'd be fourth choice, so he'd barely play anywhere. If we was to sign a Joel Matip, he'd be third choice uh, because he's better than Mavropanos. And he'd be fourth choice because injuries as well, so he'd be third and fourth choice. We would probably, he'd probably be technically our best centre back anyway because he's the most proven in the game. But you need to start Todibo and Kilman anyway because that's the past. No, that's the present and the future, and you've got to get them used to each other as a centre back partnership. They've only played 45 minutes together. Obviously, ideally before the window, I would have liked to have a left back. Obviously, if we scroll down a bit more, you can see Emerson there. Obviously, Emerson and Aaron Cresswell are left back options, but we've seen that Cresswell obviously easily got injured against Bournemouth. Not even against Bournemouth, before the Bournemouth game, it was in the warm up. So Wan-Bissaka went to left back. And I'd rather Wan-Bissaka left back than Emerson left back. Than Cresswell left back. I think either or, though, I don't agree with. I hope the manager doesn't keep subbing off fullbacks, though, keeps putting Vladimir Sufa on for Emerson. I don't want him to do that again. I think despite even Wan-Bissaka and Emerson, even if they perform badly, for example, the backup options are Cresswell and Sufa, and that's a big downgrade to what we have. And listen, apart from that pass against Man City, Emerson didn't do badly in terms of the general season as well. He's gone under the radar quite a bit. So I've been very impressed with him overall. But that's the defence for you. Obviously, Ward-Prowse is on loan in the midfield section. We've got Carlos Soler on loan. These are the midfield. Well, Cornet's out on loan as well. Cornet, for some reason, is out of midfield. And obviously, we've got Irving down here. Let's try and get as these midfielders here, ignoring Cornet and Ward-Prowse. Obviously, Carlos Soler has been signed and he's been given a number 4 shirt. It's very confusing. But Carlos Soler is probably the missing piece to the midfield that we need. Obviously, playing Alvarez and Rodriguez was the right decision against Manchester City, as they were two more defensive-sided midfielders, and they're both somewhat comfortable in possession. Alvarez more so, but also really comfortable out of possession and winning the ball back. So it was the right midfield, and with Paquetá pretty much having a free role. Paquetá is going to be crucial to this side anyway, because I think even without him, don't get me wrong, Mohamed Kudus will be a great 10, but it's a different kind of number 10. More of a dribbler and driver with the ball. Paquetá can drive with the ball, don't get me wrong, but he's the only one that can pick up the passes that he does. But he needs to not play like the way he did against Manchester City and more like the games against Aston Villa and Crystal Palace. And even then, he wasn't the greatest, but he was better in those games. We didn't really get him on the ball enough in the second half against Crystal Palace. But you saw even against Bournemouth when we played in the Carabao Cup, like when Paquetá came on, he really turned up the creativity of the midfield. So you even saw that with the evidence there. And it's also because the bar was also low. We had 28 and Ward-Prowse as the number 8 options in midfielders. With Carlos Soler as well, going back to Carlos Soler, obviously, as I said, when we talk about Alvarez and Rodriguez, Soler couldn't play the game. And when we're approaching the game against Fulham, obviously I know Carlos Soler hasn't played many games and he probably won't start him straight away, but I would rather Carlos Soler and Alvarez and Paquetá all play as a midfield 3, and that should be the starting midfield 3. I'll be really upset if we don't get to see that on a regular basis in league games as a midfield 3, because that would allow us to control games and allow us to go up a level. Obviously, we've got to give Carlos Soler a chance to see if we buy him at the end of the season, because obviously the buy option and the obligation to buy got taken off to get the deal done over the line, to also get it easier to sign a contract, etc. like that. So we're probably going to have to agree to a whole new price next season, but that will work with probably sales. We're probably going to sell a couple players as well after their loans ends as well. Speaking of the loans, Ward-Prowse going out on loan isn't ideal for me with 28 still being there, but at the same time, nobody was interested in 28. Ward-Prowse is more sellable with the English tax and with what he can do with the ball and stuff like that. We haven't seen that enough at West Ham, and also I don't get me wrong, I even said we needed to upgrade on him as well. But if we're going to loan or sell anyone, I wouldn't have been him. But here's what it is. I'm not going to lose sleep over it, put it that way. But it is a bit weird seeing him in a Nottingham Forest shirt. Obviously, Paquetá is very key. He's got to step up. Mohamed Kudus is there as a midfielder. Obviously, he's. We'll talk about him now. Even though I put him down as more of an attacker, he's not even played once in midfield Well, no, he's played a couple of times in a 10, but whatever. I don't like him off the left. I've said this millions of times before, and everyone knows my opinion on that. I'm not going to repeat myself with what's it called? Where I want Kudus to play and stuff like that. I've said it on multiple streams and multiple videos how I want the team to be structured and line up. I don't think it's going to happen, and I think for the longer the time that this guy plays on the left, the less goals and assists we're going to get from him, and uh, the less of his actual creativity and his general ability that we're going to get from him. He's good in possession and good on the counter. I'm really happy with what we're seeing overall from Mohamed Kudus, but it's just with the context of him playing in a position that he's playing. The reason why he's not playing his best games is because of the position. He was someone that settled in very quickly into the Premier League as well, but unfortunately, I don't think we're going to see the midfield that we really want to see at this club. Because I know what this manager's like. I've gathered what this manager's like. He's very pragmatic, but we'll come to that another time. Scrolling down a bit, Edson Alvarez coming back in is very crucial for us as he gives you a whole dynamic, but a whole different kind of balance and physicality and comfortability in possession as well. Being the heart of midfield, right at the centre. But yeah, just in general, helps you have a bit more defensive solidity and that aggression, and hopefully a bit more controlled aggression. Luckily, he didn't get yellow carded against Manchester City, but luckily we have the backup as in Guido Rodriguez to come in as well. And I'm more confident with the backups that we have because last year we loaned out Flynn Downs and we didn't get a replacement. So we just had Ward-Prowse and 28 to come in for Alvarez and make that whole midfield unbalanced with them playing deeper. As in with Alvarez and Rodriguez, they're the same profile midfielder. So that's what I'm fine with me. And he's going to be one of the players he needs to build the side around. And he can play the passes in between the lines from deep as well, which really helps us in possession. And helps us out of possession as well. That ability to drop in between the centre backs to win the ball high up the pitch and win the ball, in our own area to then distribute the ball quicker for counter attacks and just general possession and sometimes calming the play down. Has that leadership as well and the experience. With Rodriguez as well. Rodriguez, I've been fine with his start so far. Again, got to give him a chance. It's the first season in the Premier League. I'm like that with everyone. Overall, very happy with what he's doing so far, considering the fact that this is his first few games in the Premier League, thrown straight in the firing line. Impressed me in the Betway Cup as well. And I think he could be a good player for us for a couple of years. I think we'll have to upgrade in the future. But that's the future. For now, I'm fine with it. Obviously, everyone knows my opinion on 28. Don't think he's good enough, and we've seen that we can play better without him with the comfortability and possession. We just need to be more clinical. He can be a goal threat when we need a goal, and I get why he was brought on against Manchester City, but he could also be brought on if we see out a game as well, just because he's got a good defensive mind. But the whole point as a midfielder, you're meant to be somewhat decent with the ball, and he's not. But I'm not going to go too in on him today because I haven't got the energy to be repeating myself. Obviously, Andy Irving's there. Andy Irving wanted to stay for whatever reason, thinking he's going to get game time. I think we've seen with the midfield options that we have, he's not going to get any game time. So I expect something to happen with him in January. Let's go on to the attackers. And there's a bit of a, these lot are fine. These lot are fine. It's just this guy. Let's get Danny Ings out of the way. Danny Ings wants to stay because he's paid on a big wage. And the problem I have with Danny Ings is that he's not a bad player. He can probably still play a role for any club going around the mid-table section if they can play to his strengths and play a two up front or whatever. But he's in the wrong era of football now where not really many people play a two up front anymore. I reckon he could do well for Brentford. Brentford are going to need a striker. I reckon he could do well for that. Not that they'd be interested in him. Southampton can play a two up front at times when they play the 5-3-2, but they also need to score goals as well. He didn't want to accept to move back to Southampton. He's quite comfortable here. He's obviously part of the team that won the Conference League. Not that he did much, but whatever. He was there. He clearly likes the vibes on the dressing room and stuff. Clearly a big character, but all of that is off the pitch stuff that I don't care about. I care about West Ham actually providing for the club right now. And I don't know when his contract expires. I may check that out at a later date. If it's in 2025, then I don't know why he would stay. I guess he's looking for the big payout, etc. as well. But actually, wait, I'll look for it another time. Give me a sec. I'll share the screen again. But Yeah, if he comes off of the bench and even if he starts, I'll get like it's fine. But also, the manager seems to like him in pre-season for whatever reason as well. But he's not going to get in the team over the two strikers that we have already as well. Because I think Antonio can play way more of a part. Um, I think he is just better for what we have right now. As much as I don't think I've been really impressed with Mikel Antonio as at this current moment in time, apart from the City game, I didn't think he was bad in the City game. I thought he was better. Well, I didn't think he was as bad. Sorry, I thought he was still average, but it wasn't as bad as the Palace game, and especially the Villa game. Um, but with Mikel Antonio, obviously he can still play a part. But it's just for me, he needs to come off the bench rather than starting. And I think we need to integrate the current striker that we have right now, which is Nicholas Fulkirk. If you guys are going to write off Nicholas Fulkirk right now, I'm not really interested in that opinion. The reason why I'm not interested in that opinion is because we've gone through a striker crisis for years. We should be giving strikers a chance at this club. So if you don't want to give someone a chance, that's just enter the club, whatever in it. But that's Twitter for you as well. And the thing is, oh, I'm not too sure about Fulcrum. Look, bro, just give him a chance. This guy's an experienced striker who can link play if given the ball to feet a lot more. You saw what happened against Bournemouth, where he actually got the ball to feet once. He tucked it around for Somerville, but we didn't give him the ball enough. I feel sorry for him because the only game he started was with a midfield that don't distribute the ball forward. However, with the game overall, the only thing he did against City was that was the only time again. The only time he got the ball when he flicked it around for Suchek, number 28. That was the only time he really got the ball. And he can link players as well. He's very unselfish as well. He's going to have the ability to bring players and play. And I hope he starts against Fulham because I think he deserves to. I actually hope he gets a game against Germany just to up his fitness up a bit. And then just give him a rest. And then hopefully gets a game against Fulham. I want him to play. I want this guy to play. I don't know how stubborn this manager is going to be with playing Mikel Antonio. I hope not too stubborn. Um, this guy needs to. What I'm hoping from this manager is that he's not too stubborn with the signings in general, because the next new signing, Crysentia, some of that we'll be talking about. Obviously, we've already talked about Guilherme in this video. But with Somerville, again, as I always say about Crysentia Somerville, is that he's going to give you something different that none of the wingers have, which is being a right foot on the left. He can play on the right as well, but being a right foot on the left. Um, which is what we need. Every time he's really come on, I think he's actually had some patches where he's impacted the game really well. He obviously hit the post against City after the save from Edison, got really unlucky, and he's bound to get his first goal for West Ham very soon. But again, I actually want him to start as well, but I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. I think if you want the guy to start, it's going to have to be when one of the main attackers gets suspended or injured. And if he's not going to start in the league, at least start him against Liverpool, because we're not going to win that game anyway. And I don't think this team are going to try to win, because I know what this team is like at Anfield. For me, I'd like to see Guilherme and Somerville at least against Liverpool. Yeah, we're throwing him in a deep end, but at least it gets them some sort of form of game time and gets them more used to the system, etc. But very direct and can cut in and good on the inside and outside of the pitch as well, to hugging the touchline or getting into the pockets as well. So I'm still happy with the Somerville signing. I just think he needs to play. And going on to last one, Jared Bowen, obviously very nullified against Manchester City. They just didn't allow him to shoot on his left foot. Didn't allow him to kind of shoot. Um, I hope he does. I hope just tactically as well that Jared Bowen isn't. Hold on. That Jared Bowen isn't allowed to put more on the touchline rather than be hugged into the pocket so much. The other way around. Sorry, I don't want Bowen on the touchline as it stifles his goal scoring ability rather than he's just being allowed there to create for the third man runners and for the strikers as well. Whereas if he's there for his goal scoring ability, he can be getting in the pockets more, making that inside run on the channels, which is where we want him and where he will score more goals, such as the goal against Palace. Not up front. I'm not trying to see Bone up front shouts in 2024. Same with Paquetá. Well, not even 2024, this stage of the era that we're playing in, like Paquetá on the left and Bone up front. Like, this is what the previous regime has done to people. But yeah, not impressed with that. But I think Bone will come good in the season. But we need to see a proper 90-minute performance from him as well. So that'll be one to look at. Make sure to like the video. Make sure to subscribe if you are new. Social medias are in the description if you want to follow me. The email for the inquiries. I'll see you guys later. Goodbye.